Hi there, welcome back to Bottled Wisdom. This is a second part of, we were talking about standing back and letting some of the consequences of your partner drinking, or your, in your family. It's true also with children, so it's not just partners, and what that looks like, the complications of that. But going alongside that is an enabling that comes through secrecy. Again, this is very natural in a loving relationship. In terms of protection, you don't want your partner to be shamed in public, and so, or your family.
And you don't want to be shamed yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely
that poor
key.
lady that lives with that guy. You don't want to be that poor lady.
And so what you do is you rush around, understandably, but not necessarily helpfully, containing the situation. And it grows, and it's really painful, and you find that you're in the end isolated in this secret world where you feel cut off from the people around you, and that is so common.
Unfortunately, the old saying, who knows what goes on behind lace curtains, but what happens with this secrecy is that your social life begins to dwindle. It shrinks. Because you don't want to go out to other people's houses if he or she gets drunk all the time. You don't want to invite people to your house because you don't know what's going to happen. And you don't talk about what's going on in your life. How's everything? Fine, Or you become more and more isolated, and that's what tends to happen with drinkers and their families. They become really isolated. And the irony is, this secrecy actually doesn't really work. I remember when I got sober, and I was about 3 months sober, and I was in work one day, and I said to somebody, I was coming out of my secrecy, and I said, I've stopped drinking. And these people just went, we know. They went, how do you know? They went, it's kind of obvious, And I thought, oh, right, okay. The cloak that I had pulled over myself was actually made of polythene, and everybody could see through it, and I thought, that didn't work, So family very often knows exactly what's going on, but they won't say until you say. Because people don't want to be the ones to bring up the subject. If you bring it up, they're often delighted, because then they can say, okay, we're here.
So again, you start enabling by mistake a very toxic situation, and if you're really identifying with this, then I think we would encourage you to think about actually bringing a little bit of reality to your situation, a bit of authenticity about what you feel. But again, it can kind of it can fire back at you, because if you tell someone who is just going to be on your side and is going to get really angry on your behalf, for example, if you tell your mum and dad, but they are not able to kind of approach that in a good way, and end up saying, I'm not having him in this house, and whenever he comes near, being angry, that's going to make the situation even more toxic.
Absolutely.
So take a little bit of thought and begin to disclose to someone that it both loves you but is aware enough to know that overreacting to your drinker is not going to help the situation.
Again, you've got to think through some of the consequences. When we say, about secrecy, the opposite of secrecy isn't taking out a full-page advert in the local paper, or telling the local gossip. That's not a good idea. You also got to think through about, one of the things that secrecy does is it might protect your drinker, but it isolates you. It isolates you from help. It isolates you from the support that you might need, because you feel as if you might be betraying your drinker by telling somebody. But you need help. You need support yourself, because it is frustrating. It's incredibly hard living with a drinker, isn't it? It's really hard. And if you've got nobody to speak to about it, if you've got nobody to vent your frustrations, then you end up in this kind of toxic sort of duo, with the drinker. And it's terrible.
And you know, you maybe even need to say to the person you start disclosing to, look, I know your tendency will be to just get really mad on my behalf, but that isn't really going to help. What I need is help in this relationship. You know, I really care for my drinker, and I need your support, and I need to say how it feels, but I don't really want you to gang up on your drink, because that's not going to make it particularly easy. So you can shape that conversation and say, this will be helpful, this won't, before you really disclose. So
Very often what you need to just say is, I just need to talk.
Yeah.
I don't really need to listen. I just need to talk. You know, I don't need advice here. I need the opportunity to vent.
Yes.
And that's why, you know, they talk about the stranger on a bus syndrome. That really helps, because they're not invested in your life. You know, you can just go, this is where I'm at. You know, you just go,
and
oh, that's interesting, son.
They will want to protect you.
Yeah.
You know, just as you're protecting your drinker, they'll want to protect you. They might say, oh, just leave them. Maybe that's good advice, but you can just say, well, I don't want to do that in a knee-jerk way. You know.
But part of this is about giving yourself freedom.
Yeah.
It's about giving yourself freedom for help, for support. Now, it's about re-establishing your social life, you know. Just because you don't want to go to, you know, Jock and Jenny's because, you know, he or she might get drunk. There's no reason why you couldn't go on your own. You know, if they're your great friends, why don't you go and talk to Jock or Jenny, go and have tea with them, do you know what I mean? It's about taking the shackles off of you, you know, because the secrecy, you know, it's very much a double-edged sword, you know. It can actually tie you up. It can actually make you a prisoner. And
you may, with your friends, stop defending them and actually be real and say, you know, I'd love to come, you know, but I'm worried about over-drinking. And again, just choosing who you bring into your world. But don't circle that world like a kind of wagon train against marauders and end up, you know, with no resources within yourself. So don't enable the situation by secrecy. It's not good for you. It's not good for your drinker. Actually, to have your drinker know there's a bit of exposure going on, and you're not going to just kind of pretend everything's okay. Again, can be a consequence that maybe they might thinking, oh.
Again, as we said in the last video, you know, if there's no negative consequences of drinking, then why would you change? Now, one of the negative consequences of drinking is that other people know about it. And it becomes more and more difficult to actually deny it. You know, if a lot of people know. And you know that a lot of people know. Part of the research that I did was looking at how people change, and one of the things that helped people change is when, you know, when their shame became public. That was one of the big motivators, was to change.
And get on the forum. That's often the first step that people take.
That's a safe place.
Know,
That's a safe place.
So thank you for listening. Don't forget the chain of care. Thank you so much for those who invest in the chain of care. It all goes back into the website, and basically if you give a donation, it means somebody like you in 6 months' time is able to come and hear these videos and get the help, you know. So you are investing in someone else coming out of their pain, and that's what the chain of care is all about. And if you find this helpful, then please think of people like you who want people like us. You know, and whatever it is we do get quite a lot of really heartening positive feedback. So it seems to help people on their journeys. So please help us to help them. And we promise you every penny goes back into giving the care that people need. So, you know, we never know whether you give or not. That's entirely up to you. But we're grateful because many of you do. And whoever you are, thank you so much. And if you want to help someone like you, then maybe just consider donating towards their care. That's what the chain of care is all about.
It is. But also the chain of care is about actually becoming part of a community. It's about, you know, it's about your comments. It's about, you know, your posts on the forum. It's about all of these things. You know? So, and keep your comments coming because they're really helpful. So thank you for listening. We've probably covered all the little videos, but, you know, if we think of
other little subjects that come up.
Yeah.
You know, we will do little ones from time to time and go back to doing maybe some of the longer ones.
Or if you've got any suggestions,
yeah,
just
yeah, please.
stick them in the comments down
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Just weird. Kind of going on a sabbatical. We'll still be posting and stuff, but we may not be quite so proactive. Will we?
Probably by the time this video goes out, we'll be on our way back from the
Okay, we'll have
sabbatical.
just had a sabbatical.
Yeah.
So
We've just had a sabbatical. You can tell by the short hair that's about to happen later on today.
yeah,
But you won't see this for about a few weeks now.
yeah. Okay. Anyway, so we'll have had a little bit of a rest. But anyway, we care for you. All your pain and your journey matters to us very much.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.